Ready? Well, welcome to our first meeting, January 7th, 2025 of the Trinity County Board of Supervisors. My last time calling the meeting to order. And if you will stand and join us, Supervisor Brownfield will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. You probably are familiar that presentations are usually first up, but we have one quick county matter that takes place in the first meeting of the year. That is Clerk of the Board confirm the seating of District 3 Supervisor Liam Gogan as chairman and District 4 Supervisor Heidi Carpenter Harris as Chair Pro Tem Vice Chair. No fiscal impact. And I guess there's really nothing to present. And I actually don't even remember when my time around, we do or don't vote, or it just happens because that's our rotation. Just happens. Yay, verily. I turn the gavel over.
Not yet. This is your gavel.
Okay, well, that's
So,
all
The
yours.
second part of this is,
Actually, we do that after the presentations, I think.
Okay.
That's why I saw the order. Yeah. You have to hold on to that for a little bit.
yeah.
And I don't know to say congratulations or condolences.
I will
It's all
find out.
yours.
I'm sure there'll be a little beach going on here this year. But let's hope we make things a little bit better for everybody, as we've been trying. Okay. Are we ready for presentations? Clerk of the board, present the outgoing chairman of the board, the supervisors with an engraved gavel. This is to you, sir, for your year of service as the board chair. Thank you very much. And if you're a carpenter, take it to work.
That would not last long. Thank you, sir.
You got it. Thanks for your service. We appreciate it.
Nice.
And now we are going to receive a presentation from Trinity County Fire Safe Council Coordinator Skylar Fisher regarding the Homeowners Association, the Homeowners Insurance Survey results. Skylar?
Hello, thank you, Chair of the Board, Supervisors, and then those in the room and also in the internet void watching this meeting. My name is Skylar Fisher and I coordinate the Trinity County Fire Safe Council at the Trinity County Resource Conservation District. And I'm going to spend the next few minutes discussing an anonymous homeowners insurance survey that the Fire Safe Council ran for homeowners in Trinity County. Okay, thank you, Leah, for pulling that up. Okay, so as I said, anonymous Trinity County homeowners insurance survey. So I'm going to talk about the why of the survey, the results, and then recommended next steps from our findings in the survey. So opening up, what was the purpose of the survey? So as many of us know, homeowners insurance prices have been increasing. So through the research for this presentation and prior to running the survey, we found that insurance losses have been increasing. So in 2016, it was projected for billion losses in California, and that increased to billion in 2017. That number has slightly decreased in years after 2017, but that's kind of what has been inspiring rates to be increasing for the homeowners. In addition, just in the state of California, 8 out of the 10 largest recorded wildfires in the state's history have happened since 2017, which have caused historic losses. So this has caused insurance rates to be increasing for homeowners, and homeowners also being either canceled from their homeowners insurance or not being renewed at the end of their term. So specifically in Trinity County, the Fire Safe Council has a fairly large outreach program. So we really try to go to each of the communities in the county, hear what folks are saying, either online through our social media newsletter or in person through events. And across the board, the reoccurring thing that we were hearing is that folks were either getting non-renewed, canceled, or they were seeing significant increases in their insurance rates when it came to their renewal. And so that was stories that we were hearing, but then also talking to our county board of supervisors, this is something that our supervisors were relaying to us as the Fire Safe Council. So we heard a lot of these stories and a lot of this anecdotal data. So we came together and said, let's run a survey and see if we can get some more concrete data to see what exactly the picture looks like, or I would say a snapshot of what the home insurance situation is in Trinity. So we worked with Supervisor Lutweiler. We got input from representatives from VFDs. The Fire Safe Council provided input, and we put together this survey and ran it from November 4th, 2024 to December 4th, 2024. And this was promoted through our Fire Safe Council social media. It was promoted onto different community pages, on the Fire Safe Council networks, our newsletter, and then also with the help of our county supervisors. And so through this process, we got 381 responses. So that is pretty good response. We were really excited to see how much feedback that we got, but what was the information that we received? So when the first question that we opened up with is, what is the source of your homeowner's insurance? And so there's some very interesting data that just comes out right off the bat. So the first thing is the California Fair Plan, which many are familiar. This was created by the state as a last resort homeowners insurance option. Over a quarter of respondents in the survey reported that they are on the California Fair Plan. And 13% reported that they had no homeowners insurance, while 60% did have traditional insurance coverage. And I do want to call out at the beginning of this presentation, some of the numbers fluctuate a little bit, like no homeowners insurance. As we get through the survey, we lose some of the respondents. So because of that, some of the numbers change as we get less answers in the later questions. So the percentages might fluctuate a little bit. And so one of the interesting things about the response specifically regarding the California Fair Plan is, in our research for this presentation, we found, at least as of 2021, it was reported that about 3% of the overall residential insurance policies in California were for the Fair Plan. So Trinity County being at 27% is significantly higher. And of course, this is a 2024 screenshot or snapshot rather than a 2021. So we do know that California Fair Plan enrollment has been increasing since 2021, but still, this being the available data, these are two quite different numbers. And then of course, the fact that 13% of respondents say that they don't have homeowners insurance is very staggering. And so another question we asked was, has your homeowners insurance been canceled or not renewed in the last 3 years? And then we also provided definitions of the difference between cancellation and non-renewal. And so through this, we found that 32% of respondents have reported either that they have been canceled or non-renewed, which is a fairly significant number. So how much are you paying for your homeowner's insurance? So I think this is one of the questions that we were most interested to see and compare for Trinity County. So just initially looking at it, you can see that between 2024 and 2023, there are some differences. So for example, in 2023, we have a larger percentage that reported to pay less than $2,500 a year on their home insurance, around 40% compared to 20% in 2024. And then that number increasing of folks who had insurance between $2,500 and $5,000 in 2024 compared to 2023. So breaking it down a little bit further, as I said, 40% of respondents said that they paid between $2,500 and $5,000 in 2024, compared to 30% reporting paying that much in 2023. So that's an increase. And 20% of respondents reported paying less than $2,500 in 2024, decreasing by 21% in 2023. So homeowners insurance costs between $5,000 and $7,500 increased from 10% in 2023 to 17% in 2024. So this is a bit of like a punchy screenshot. So according to the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, the 2021 Homeowners Insurance Report finds that the average premium by amount of insurance for California is about $1,441. But according to this survey in 2023, 59% of homeowners in Trinity County either pay more than this or do not have homeowners insurance. And so that's essentially regarding that the less than 2,500 is less than that 1,441 number. But if we look at 2024, which is in the punchy box, that increased to 80%, either having above 2,500,000 a year or not having homeowners insurance. So what else did we learn? Okay, so what percentage of your after taxes income goes to paying homeowners insurance? So the largest answer that we got was less than 10%, which is good, but we still did get a significant number of residents reporting that they paid 10 to 20% of their after taxes income towards their homeowners insurance. And then to another question, has the cost of insurance caused you to consider dropping? 36% reported that they have considered dropping due to this. And it is interesting that 6% said that they dropped on this answer, because we're still at this stage in the survey when asking, do you have insurance? Like the number's still around 11. So I'm curious, like this is about half of that. Like what percentage of those without insurance like chose to drop it or were forced to drop it or felt pressured to drop it? Okay, so have you had issues obtaining relevant discounts from your insurer for home hardening or defensible space? So this one was very interesting, especially with the Fire Safe Council outreach program hat. A majority of residents reported that they have not applied for discounts. So this has our program thinking a lot on how we can promote the discounts which are available to residents. But what was also very interesting in this answer was putting aside that 62% of residents have not applied for discounts. More residents have reported that they have applied for discounts and not received them than have reported that they have applied for discounts and received them, which is very interesting. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, an uplifting figure that we got from the survey. So the question is, how much progress have you made to increase the defensibility of your home, either through defensible space work, which is like clearing like vegetation and material around your home, or doing home hardening, which is retrofits to increase the defensibility of your home. And so a significant number of residents have started putting in the work to improve their defensible space and improve their home hardening. So breaking it down, so respondents nearly 20% less familiar with home hardening than defensible space treatment. Again, I call this out because that's something now on our radar. Maybe the Fire Safe Council and similar organizations need to be doing a little bit better outreach to inform residents on what home hardening is and what steps folks can take to make their home more hardened to wildfire. And I called out less than 10% of residents know of home hardening recommendations and didn't put the work in, and less than 5% of respondents know of defensible space and didn't put the work in, which indicates that many residents, just to pull back the previous slide again, many residents have either put in from a small portion of the defensible space or home hardening recommendations to have implemented most or all of the defensible space or home hardening recommendations. So that is to say, many Trinity County homeowners are already putting in the work to reduce their wildfire risk, which is very encouraging. So what's next? So this was like a lot of data that I'm throwing at you. So I wanted to make some recommendations on next steps. So the first thing, homeowners should apply for the discounts available. The California Department of Insurance has the Safer from Wildfires program, which has identified several steps that homeowners can take to be eligible for certain homeowners insurance discounts. One of the most accessible, I think, for Trinity County is the Firewise USA insurance discounts. So there are 14 Firewise communities across the county. Many residents reside within these communities, and being within a Firewise community, which is in active status, can make you eligible for an insurance discount. But in addition, taking these home hardening steps, taking these steps to improve your defensible space can also go towards potentially getting homeowners insurance discounts. So Fire Safe Council wants to improve our education and outreach so that homeowners know that these discounts are available. So that's to say, we want to continue improving education, outreach, but also advocating to better support homeowners. Before we started this survey, we had a conversation with United policyholders and asked if they had any data showing what's happening in Trinity County or what the current situation regarding homeowners insurance is. And they said, so far the outreach hasn't been, they haven't been connecting with homeowners well enough to have that quality data. So we think that it's the responsibility of these local organizations to kind of advocate and gather this data as much as possible so that we can hand it off to folks like the Board of Supervisors so that you can continue advocating for us and what's happening here. Which is a perfect segue to another next step is requesting that the County Board of Supervisors use this information, advocate for Trinity County homeowners to regional and state groups, state representatives, California Department of Insurance, and basically anyone else who will hear us. So thank you for your time. This survey has been very helpful to better understanding what the situation in Trinity County is. Really have appreciated the support of the county board in circulating the survey and getting a great response from it. My information is on the slide if you'd like to learn more. If you're interested in the Firewise community program, all of our Firewise renewals for 2025 should be on the Fire Safe Trinity website, and I can answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Skylar. I do have a few questions. Could you go back to the first pie chart there?
Yes. Oh,
Oh, really jumped.
I see.
I think there was one prior to that. Was there one prior to that?
Oh, maybe it was the next one.
All right, so we'll start with this one right here. One of my questions was that 15% of the homeowners don't have any. There's another chart here that a certain amount of people in Trinity County don't have insurance.
It was the one that had the 27%
Yeah,
have
exactly.
California plan and so forth. So I think it is still,
I think
earlier.
I think it's.
There we go.
There you go. So that's the one I'm looking at. So no homeowners insurance for 13% of the people. From what I know, it's against the law not to have homeowners insurance if you have a mortgage.
Mhm.
So is that reflective upon the amount of people that actually own their home outright here in Trinity County, which I think is probably a larger percentage than most counties?
Interesting. That's a good observation. That's the assumption that we're making, is that it's those who aren't on a mortgage any longer. But one of the things that I would love to hear during this like question period is we would like to share this survey to like regional groups and other fire safe councils so that other jurisdictions can also be getting the same amount of information. So if there's any way that we can improve this question, please let me know. Like, should we add like, are you still paying your mortgage, or track that?
Yeah, I think as we go through and ask that question, what percentage of people in each county actually own their home outright? And I think we'll probably find out that we are in the upper end of that group.
Okay.
Next slide, I had a question for.
Mhm.
So the difference between renewed and canceled.
Mhm.
Every year I get threatened with not being renewed.
Right.
And I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and I do, and I keep my homeowner's insurance. How do people just get outright canceled? If they are doing everything that they are supposed to do, why are they canceled?
So that's a good question. I've asked when we had this conversation with United policyholders who tried to run, or who ran a similar survey, but didn't really get any engagement with Trinity County. So before we ran this survey, we had a conversation with them and said, you know, what are the best questions that we can ask so that we can advocate for residents? And this was a question that we had a conversation about. And they recommended that we specifically call out the difference between non-renewal and cancellation, because essentially, in their opinion, they're really like, there being this percentage of cancellations reported is very staggering, because it should only be under very specific circumstances in which folks are canceled. So there is the question of, is there a percentage that is reported as being canceled that truly was a non-renewal? Because typically it is a non-renewal and rather than a cancellation. An insurance company will just choose at the end of your term not to renew, rather than in the middle of your term just canceling the policy altogether.
Very good. Next slide, unless anybody had any questions on that slide there.
well, I'll just comment to your point, Liam.
Sure.
We actually did get non-renewed way back when, and they didn't give any options. They didn't say, go do this and we'll fix it. They just said, we're not renewing you. And so we luckily snuck in under the radar and got under USAA when they apparently weren't doing many policies. And so we've been fine since, but yeah, they didn't give us any, if you do this, we'll keep you.
Right. And maybe that's the difference between mine and yours. I, kind of grandfathered in and been with my, my insurance company for decades. Still, this is all troublesome to me. We can go into the next one.
Okay.
So let's go back to that one right there, not the pie chart. So, nope, the one that you just had up there.
This one?
Next one, the black one.
Oh, yes.
Summary.
So the average premium paid by people in California is $1,441, which I would guess that the average home is in the lower 20% of value of the rest of the state. So that number, a house here that's worth $200,000 is probably worth $1.6 million somewhere else. So I would imagine if you took the average home price here and compared it to other counties, that 1441 is a staggering amount of differential between the actual value of our homes here and values of other homes in other counties, which is alarming to me. Next one. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And anybody feel free on the board to ask any questions they want.
I'll just let you know, Liam, I just did or Supervisor Gogan, sorry, I just did a quick search and it showed that Trinity County average home value 222,000 versus over 420,000 nationally.
So our homes are worth less than 50% of nationally. And I would say that even nationally blends in a lower percentage of cost. When you get into the Midwest, you're looking at, houses that are probably not California priced, we'll say. So that 1441 is a staggering amount. And thanks, Rick, for pulling that up quick. But I think it's even worse than that because that's a national average, not a state average.
Right. So maybe using some of this nuance when we're sharing this information.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to make that number a staggeringly amount bigger because, statewide, well, let's say nationally, our homes are worth less than 50% nationally. And we are in probably the priciest state, if not the priciest 3 states in the country. So yeah, I would like to see that based upon the value of California homes.
Okay.
And we're
Over 750,000.
okay. So we are at now, and we're in the 15-20% range of homes. So that 1441 is really a high number for the amount of dollars that are being insured.
Right.
Okay, and feel free to chip in.
Liam,
Go ahead.
May I
Go
make a
ahead.
comment?
Absolutely.
Okay, and there's another avenue, another place to look for information with the real estate association, because people are trying to sell their homes, people are trying to buy homes, and when they do that and they have no home insurance, it doesn't help that association either. So that's another thing that's going on with this homeowners insurance, is that people can't sell their homes, they can't build on their homes, they can't. Right. So that's just a really good, it's a powerful organization. They have a lot of interest in this. So we can tap that a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. We'll definitely reach out.
Yeah, I do believe it's probably the number one thwart against buying homes here is the cost of fire insurance, which could be, similar to what your mortgage might have been.
Right.
Next slide. Anybody? Next slide. So one of the things that I guess I'd like to know what the board can do to help out. I think we have a pretty robust fire safe council and defensible space program here, chipping, I've seen a lot of it throughout the county. What can we do as a board to engage with more homeowners to make more dispensable space so they don't have to go to the California Fair Plan? And I think there might be another slide I'll comment on, but I do want to support you 100% and make sure that, Trinity County is, getting all that it can out of it, because it is a barrier to moving here and moving out of here if you wanted to. So, I take that seriously. So if you want to go to the next. Next, please.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's what I just spoke about. If you have any suggestions, you can meet with me, talk to the board. We're more than happy to do anything we can. I think we do have a really good program set up, for dispensable space and all. So I'd like to see more people take advantage of that. If you don't think that everybody is taking advantage of that yet, I don't think they are. And then I guess the other thing I would say is that, or thinking that, is when you get to California Fair Plan, you have to have other insurance in conjunction with that, because I think the California Fair Plan generally only covers you for fire and explosion, maybe other things too, but you may have to have 2 policies, which is very, hard on the income.
Right.
So, if we can get more people to stay with, State Farm, farmers, whatever it might be, the better, for the county, keeping people here and bringing people here. So that's all I had to say about that. If anybody else want to say anything, feel free.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it with State Farm than that. It's what they're allowed to write in California. And so they haven't been allowed to write, but it looks like in the coming months that may change. The other thing that I would add is that I worked with Skylar to make a couple of additions to the survey as it was, just because we found a couple of areas that didn't seem to be adequately or fully disclosing like realities. She's taken care of that. Thank you. And she had some input for some other sources as well. So with that final product, I have forwarded that over to our CRC executive team, and they will send that to all the 40 member counties. The hope being that we can get that participation that Supervisor Lutweiler was looking for at the CSAC level, but that didn't quite come to pass. This group was very excited about that. So it'll be interesting to see what those results show. And then that's a powerful organization as well, the input that they can have. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's exciting to hear.
And I have a couple of things. One on Supervisor Brownfield's comment. I did remember there was one other survey question. I know you were showing the highlights because you have a little bit of time here. But to your point, 15% of the respondents said they chose not to purchase a home due to the high cost of homeowners insurance. And 6.7% said that the sale of their home fell through because of. And of course, we're only still getting a sampling. So it is an issue. And I certainly hear about it from my wife as well. It's a big issue. And I was just going to say two things. One is the fact that CSAC didn't end up stepping up to support this was troubling enough to me that I reached out to the CEO of CSAC, and I have a one-on-one meeting with him now scheduled about not just this, but specifically about not feeling like CSAC is reflecting rural county specific needs as well as they should. So we'll see where that goes, but at least it's a one-on-one meeting. It's in person, and time has already been scheduled. And then we absolutely, in trying to do this, always meant to say, okay, now we have the data, what do we do? And I think that we as a board could send something to the commissioner. There was some of the CSAC meetings on this. We've had meetings with people at the national level, at the state level, the Hoover Commission, Little Hoover Commission. We could send it to a lot of people. And Supervisor Cox, I'm wondering what your thought is on, do you think we should do that and let RCRC follow, or we should be waiting?
I guess if anything, I would wait to see how quickly the number of counties of the 40 jump in and produce this, only because to get out there by ourselves, maybe we tell a unique story that it would be beneficial, but it also seems like there's power in numbers.
As long as it's not a long delay. As you know, I waited months for CSAC and they never stepped up. But if RCRC is sending out, and then you said it's up to the counties to decide, are they going to take it and run with it?
There was conversation about it at the meeting a month ago, and there was tremendous interest in the 40 folks sitting around the board members. But what could it hurt, really?
Okay.
To go ahead.
Well, we could at least draft everything up. We could put, maybe just put on the later agenda that we draft some things to put forward to various entities. Certainly Commissioner Lara and the national level person that we met with, and Little Hoover Commission, since they did work on it. I'm sure there's others.
And perhaps in doing that, we motivate some of those other counties as well.
Okay.
That seems like a good idea.
And Skylar, have you talked with other counties, and have they had any other suggestions besides what I've just heard from our board to help this?
I haven't really had too much of a conversation with other fire safe councils so far, but the goal is to distribute this survey template through the California Fire Safe Council. And I'm curious to see where the conversation goes from there.
Well, I guess I could speak for all of us here. This is very important to this community. This is one of the biggest obstacles of getting people here, getting jobs done, people at work. So we are all hands on deck here and fully supportive. Whatever we can do as supervisors, we will. We're open anytime to meet. If you think of something, bring it up. If we think of something, we will bring it up.
Okay.
But I do think we have a great defensible space, fire safe council. And I like the board to get that word out a little bit more and maybe some help with you and how we get that out. We need all the help we can get in this situation.
Okay. Well, I look forward to working together on this.
No doubt. Hey, we're good with it. All right, Scott, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for your participation in the way south end of Trinity. I know it's a long way to go, and we appreciate your participation out there. I've seen you work, and so thank you. We really appreciate it out there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next we have a presentation from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation regarding the current Trinity Lake Storage Management release due to recent storm events. And this is virtual. Okay, go ahead.
Not
Look
virtual.
at that.
Good morning.
Oh, man. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I do have a presentation that I sent earlier. So good morning. Thank you for inviting me to come and speak to you today about Trinity Dam operations and the releases that we've been recently making. I appreciate the audience with you and with the members that are joining virtually. My name is Lori Larson. I'm an engineer,
Can you put
supervisory.
that a little closer to you. There you go.
This is all new to me, so.
Same problem.
Supervisory civil engineer with the Bureau of Reclamation at the Northern California area office. I'll have you change to the, or is this me? I can do this. Here we go. This diagram here shows the areas that our office is responsible for in Northern California. So we've got 9 dams and 6 power plants that we're responsible for operations throughout Northern California. This is just a close-up of the facilities related to operations relative to the Trinity River. The ways that we move water from Trinity, and I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with how we move water through the Central Valley Project, but it is moved from the Trinity Dam into Lewiston Dam, and it's held there, either released down through the Trinity River or through the Clear Creek Tunnel, and can be released into Whiskeytown Reservoir, and then subsequently, going back a slide where you can see the Spring Creek Tunnel and power plant, we can move water over to Keswick Reservoir and from there down through Keswick Dam into the Sacramento River. So we have 2 methods of moving water out of the Trinity River or out of Trinity Dam, either over to Sacramento River Basin or down the Trinity River. Current conditions right now, the Clear Creek Tunnel is out of service because we're doing maintenance on it. So we're left with being able to move water through Trinity Dam and down through Lewiston Dam into the river. So the ways that we move water through the dam include through the power plant. We're able to, there's basically three intakes in the reservoir. There's the auxiliary outlet works, the actual physical outlet works that go to the power plant, and then the glory hole spillway. So through the power plant, which is that main outlet works intake, we're able to move 3,600 CFS through the power plant and 7,100 CFS through the river outlet works. Through the auxiliary outlet works, we can move 2,500 CFS, and through the spillway, we can only move 2,200 CFS. So with our current conditions and the water elevation being at 2,332 feet, we're at a storage capability of 1.878 million acre feet in the reservoir right now. To put that in perspective, last year's elevation, we were at 2289, so we're 40 feet higher than our operational level last year. That puts us at 77% full, but 120% of our historical average. So we have more water than we normally do in the reservoir. That puts us in a situation of being in with our standard operating procedures. We call them safety of dams flood releases. to maintain a reservoir elevation of around 1.85 million acre feet. In order to do that, when we get greater than 1.85 million acre feet, we're to release up to 3,600 CFS. Right now, we're currently releasing 1,395 out of Trinity, which puts it at right at 1,500 coming out of Lewiston, with releases from the hatchery and side flows that are coming into Lewiston Reservoir. So we do this in order to maintain a balance so that the reservoir doesn't get too full too early, that we can't make releases if there are subsequent large storms or the snow melt that comes later this spring. So as our reservoir gets fuller in the earlier years or in the earlier timeframe, and I'm speaking, our SOP has parameters between November 1st and February 1st. And as that reservoir gets fuller, we're to make larger releases to kind of maintain that buffer so that we have room for more water coming into the reservoir. Yeah. Current inflows right now are 4,500 CFS, and we're only letting out 1395. So we still have more coming in than is being released. And we maintain, we're going to maintain those flows for about a week, is what I've been currently told from CVO. We have information coming in. Let me finish talking to you about how we move water from Lewiston. And I mentioned a little bit about the car tunnel is currently out of service and not available to us. So we can only move water down through the Trinity River, which is why we're keeping a lower release for maybe perhaps a longer period of time, so that we're not releasing a great quantity of water all at once. So we're keeping that 1,500 for the next week as we watch our forecasts from the weather coming in. We have a low amount of freeboard at Lewiston, so we can't put too much water into it. So basically what we put into Lewiston, we have to take out. And so that's why we're moving it down the river. Clear Creek Tunnel capacity is 3,500 CFS, but with it being out of service, that's why we're keeping those flows lower for maybe perhaps a slightly longer period of time to go down the river, because we can't use the tunnel at this point. CVO expects that updated seasonal runoff forecasts are coming this week, as well as snowpack survey information this month, which will give us better information to make long-range reservoir projections on elevations. And then they'll use this information to make detailed forecasts and informed decisions about operations in the future in the coming weeks and month. So I believe that's all I had. It was a lot of data to throw at you, and I apologize. I'm an engineer. So I work in trying to share the facts with you.
Thank you very much. I just have a few questions. Where do I go to find the criteria for safety of dam releases? I know that's a sliding, kind of
It is
scale.
contained within our standard operating procedures, and it's not released to the public. We can share data with you, but that table is contained within the SOP. Similar to our EAP, which is our emergency action plan, they are controlled documents.
Okay, and you said at the end of a week, you're going to reevaluate the 1,500 flow.
They're looking at forecasts on a daily basis, and I don't know what the projection is of when they will make those changes, but they look at the forecasts daily. The information I had as of last night is that their plan is for 1,500 for the remainder of this week.
And then with a possibility in your mind to be going down below 1,500 or above 1,500?
I'm not sure what the forecasts are going to show. It depends on what long-term forecasts for inflows are. Yeah.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. And I do understand the variable of the Clear Creek Tunnel being, part of this equation right now. I guess speaking for the general public here with safety of dam releases, I would certainly like to hope that we see a fairly full lake this summer.
As would we.
Yeah, so
Agreed.
we know we all need to keep an eye on that. That's important to tourism economics here.
Yep.
And, a lot of that rests on, BOR's shoulders. So we're looking for, your help in helping our economics, Trinity County, by keeping that lake as full as possible.
Yep, understood.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Just one, ma'am. It's okay. So do you synchronize? You synchronize with storms? Is that how that works?
I'm going to defer synchronization flow questions to Mike Dixon. These are operational flows relative to the safety of dams with storm related.
Okay,
So these flows currently are separate from synchronization flows.
okay.
If you have some
Yeah,
information.
I think a lot of
Interesting.
people tied the two together because,
Yep.
of course, we were just looking for that final decrease in flows from the synchronized flow when the safety of dam flows kicked in. And so that's why I think people are kind of tying the two together, even though they're separate. So it probably would help to get.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. Mike Dixon, Trinity River Restoration Program. So yeah, as Supervisor Brownfield just raised, we have recently done a synchronized flow release, the first in the history of the restoration program. That was a release of a maximum of 6,500 CFS that was timed with a big storm event. And if you look at the way that the full natural flow and that synchronized flow happened, it was beautiful. It couldn't have been timed better. Unfortunately, because we had such a good early winter, late fall, early winter, we have enough storage that we weren't able to realize the decline of those flows down to the scheduled 300 CFS that we should be reaching here in a couple of days. It's probably worth pointing out that we are tracking the flow that was scheduled for that synchronized release. So, when Lori says we're releasing 1395 or what it was at Trinity Dam, if we're only supposed to be releasing, say, 700 CFS per that down ramp from our synchronized release, the balance of that is safety of dams releases, but what's below that curve that we were already scheduling to release is still being counted as restoration flows. So I think it's important for the board and for the public to recognize that even though they're having to do some elevated flows for storage management at Trinity, but for that synchronized flow release, we would have just released probably an additional 50,000 acre feet that would have just been lost to storage in the reservoir as part of storage management. So we did just save the reservoir a lot of money with that synchronous or water rough reservoir. Well, it is money, but we saved the reservoir a lot of water with doing that synchronized flow release because that's water that we would have had to release in the spring anyways. We're just releasing it now. Any other questions related to I guess the other thing that I'll point out with the synchronized flow release relative to the safety of dams release is it is complicating our ability to do some of the monitoring activities that were associated with the winter flow project because particularly the benthic macroinvertebrate monitoring locations, some of them aren't accessible with the elevated flows. So there's going to be a delay in carrying out those sampling protocols that Supervisor Gogan is familiar with, having been at the Trinity Management Council meetings where those things have been discussed. But by tracking that water, we're at least going to be able to meet our objectives for the summer period by having that water moved and being able to achieve base flow earlier. So we are going to be able to better meet our summer temperature objectives. It's just impeding our ability a little bit to measure our progress with our winter objectives. But we'll see what happens when CVO gets through their next assessment and if we're able to get back down to base flow in accordance with the experiment that is being implemented here.
And my base flow, you're saying 300?
300. And to be fair, I don't know that CVO is going to go down to 300. They may say that, right as Lori mentioned, right now, our releases are still, even with us not having had a storm in several days, our releases are still triple, or our flows are still coming. Good Lord, I shouldn't have had so much coffee this morning. Our inflows are still triple our outflows. And so we're still continuing to encroach past that safety of dam storage management threshold. So they may choose to maintain a flow above the 300 CFS base flow, but I don't know that's really out of our hands. That's handled out of Central Valley operations.
I think that's understandable. I have no problem with that. Thank you. Anybody else on the board?
I do, but I think
Go ahead.
Supervisor Cox. Looked like you did.
I do. Maybe somebody else is just trying to wrap their head around this as I am. It sounded to me, what I gleaned from what Lori was sharing is that a major component of what's going on right now is dealing with the health of the river and what you're trying to do there in light of the fact that you've got the Clear Creek Tunnel under maintenance. Am I reading that correctly? That's a variable factor.
Well, so I guess, and I don't want to, I can call Lori back up here if I need to, but what we're doing right now, we being Big Reclamation, not the restoration program, is managing storage at the reservoir for the safety of the dam itself, and to some extent for the safety of downstream communities if we get later season storms. We do these safety of dam releases often out of sight, out of mind, because when the Clear Creek Tunnel was available for operations, that water just goes into Whiskeytown, and you don't, unless you're paying close attention to the daily releases from Trinity Dam, you wouldn't know that we were managing storage at Trinity Dam. You'd only know it if you're one of the guys like me who goes up and fishes the outflow from the power plant, you know, because the big trout get drawn up there when we increase flows out of the dam. But usually that water would just end up in the Central Valley. It would not be released to the Trinity River. What's happening right now is unusual because we have some pretty significant repairs going on in the tunnel that conveys water between the intake right above Lewiston Dam and Whiskeytown Reservoir. So the reason that the flows are elevated is because we can't move the water to the Central Valley. We have to release it to the river. But this current flow right now isn't really related to the health of the river. It's related to maintaining the safety of the dam.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's my thinking was stuck in the river. Yeah.
And I
That's
think,
where my mind usually is too, so I get it.
you know, what's been coming to me through District 1, because that covers the lake and the beginning of the river, is the people that either aren't aware of or don't want to be aware of all the science behind all this, is that right now we have the double whammy. They see water going out the lake that never gets full, and how can we do this? We need the water. Why do you let it go? And two, you're letting more water down the river, which is, you know, was already impacting fishing with the synchronized flow, and now you're hurting it even more. And so I think it's important for people to hear these reasons. They can still not like them, but you know, the two things is, if the water could have gone down the tunnel, it would have, and then it wouldn't be affecting the river. But we can't do that, so it has to go down there. And then the other was that we really just have to, even though you can't share the details of what your criteria is, you have engineering-based criteria that says, based on this flow, this level, this time of year, this wet of a season, all these other sorts of things, if we don't let this water out now, we risk an Oroville. And that's, weren't your words, but that's what I'm taking it as. And I think just one last point was, I thought it was interesting that Kyle DeJulio made a comment in the social media in response to something I had shared about all this, and said, you know, one thing Trinity County needs to think about is that in our request for the reconsultation, we're asking for an increased lake level. And he said, if you're asking for in the fall to have an increased lake level, then you are making it more likely for safety of dam releases. Now, if those increased safety of dam releases happen through the tunnel, it wouldn't affect the river. But if it's you know, like, I don't know how often the tunnel gets maintained like this.
It's been 15 years.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a regular thing that we'd have to worry about. With, yes, if the lake levels were higher, then you might have to do more safety of dam releases, but it would not necessarily come down Trinity River and affect fishing and economy and so forth. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that comment that I saw. Okay. Well, thank you both for coming. I
Hang on one
appreciate
second,
the
Mike.
response to that.
Do we have a completion date for the Clear Creek Tunnel, perhaps?
The current contract is slated to be completed in March of this year.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you
Chair,
very
I got
much.
one question if I may.
Absolutely.
What's the best source of information for like when the CVP or the operations folks are going to adjust flows? Right now we have a very good source of information through the TRRP website as far as daily flows and adjustments and forecast. Is there another source of information that we can reference people to as far as hey, it's going to be a week, but what's next, and what was the analysis done, and when are we going to see flows changing?
I don't know what is shared as far as what the forecasted is, but there's a lot of current, like up to the day data available either through Central Valley Operations, and you can just search it. I don't know the exact website for them, but Central Valley Operations has a website that has daily operational data for our facilities. And also CDEC, which is the California Data Exchange Commission Center. I'm not sure what the last C is for, but if you search CDEC, CDEC, that's another wonderful website that has lots of information about current conditions at our facilities.
Okay. Is there a way we could get an update after the analysis is done on the forecast and when we think the flows will change post end of this week, be it just an email or some other forms of communication?
I'll see about getting some information forwarded up. Yeah.
That'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep. And if anybody wants to look more at CDEC, CDEC, that website's very comprehensive. It has a lot of information on there. It's one that I use, and I think most people that pay attention to the river use. I would suggest using that website for information that is current to today, we'll say.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Did you have something?
Yeah, Chair, I have one more thing I just wanted to say. I do, again, we have to understand and appreciate the science and appreciate you coming to help us better understand why you're doing what you're doing. And I get that there is sensitivity to the other side of that story. I just want to share, and I think I especially appreciate CEO Tuttl's request is, I saw notices right away. Our hotel had 3 cancellations the day that we announced the winter variable flows just by themselves. That was just the hotel. And then there were, I'm sure, other things that came along with that, with guides and with other things getting canceled. And then they think, oh, well, at least this is only going to last 2 weeks. And then it doesn't only last 2 weeks. And now we're basically hearing the flows are still coming in at triple what we're releasing. We have to maintain a buffer. There is really an undetermined time frame of when this is going to go down. And it seems to me very likely it could go up, which again, to these small businesses, whether they're guides or restaurants or hotels or Airbnbs or everything else, basically are in a very unstable, uncertain time. And so that is the other side of the story. So the more information we have and the more that we can do, especially this year where we just don't have that tunnel to work with, you can hopefully imagine why that is so valuable to us to know as much as we can and give some people some hope or at least a way to plan their finances.
Understood.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation from the U.S. Forest Service regarding matters of interest to Trinity County.
She seems familiar. Did we used to know her?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be back. You have had a lot of questions today, and I just want to ask you to be gentle. I just got back. I may not have answers to all of your questions. I do want to start off by saying Happy New Year, and I want to express our appreciation to Trinity County from both Supervisor Berkey and Supervisor MacArthur for all of the work that we did in 2024 together, and looking forward to getting more done on your national forest in 2025. And welcome to Supervisor Brownfield.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you in the future. Okay, so I'm back as the ranger for the west side. So that's both the South Fork Management Unit and the Trinity River Management Unit. We still have Ben Sundahl working with us. He'll be our deputy. And Fred Perrin, who's been our deputy, will continue to work excuse me, with us through March until he goes back to being one of our engineers. So I'm looking forward to having some depth and getting a bit more done as a result. I want to thank Ben and Fred for continuing to move things forward in my absence. I enjoyed my time on the Lassen. I learned some things over there and was happy to just show up at board meetings unannounced and get to spend some time with that board and getting to know them a bit. And in no surprise, some of their concerns are very similar to what yours were, especially when I first started over here. So Looking forward to exercising some tools, new tools to get things done more quickly, because that is definitely, we need to get things done and we need to get them done quickly. So I've got some more tools in my toolbox around innovation, communication, collaboration, and effectiveness. Again, I did just get back, so I'm still kind of getting my feet under me and figuring out where things are currently at. Trinity Lake, I'm happy to report that our transition team is working as it should, and we fully anticipate that full transition to happen to the Trinity River Management Unit in May, as we had told you earlier on. So that's moving along nicely. Staffing, I'm sure you've likely heard that we won't have any non-fire temporary employees for the field season of 25. Maybe you haven't heard that. We will not have any non-fire temporary employees for the field season of 25. I have I've called a special meeting of all my employees to put our heads together and figure out how we're going to continue to provide public services and get our program of work implemented without those employees. I do want to add our fire staffing continues to improve. We've added from our fall fire hire, we've added 19 additional employees to the west side to work in fire. And those aren't just, moving from here to there. Those are new employees coming in. So we're super excited about that. Have a planning update for you. The High and Palm Community Risk Reduction Project, that draft EA is due out this week. And so that's the EA itself going out for comment. So you should see that coming out. Bowerman project, we're finishing up just some small tweaks with the Fish and Wildlife Service. We expect that CE to be signed this spring, implementation begin this summer. Big Ranch Community Risk Reduction, we're still working with getting some of the, what I call it, way left side. We're getting all of our ducks in a row before we scope that document. We expect to scope that late spring and get started on that planning effort following up behind the High and Palm project. North Trinity County, that scoping period closed on January 3rd. You probably saw that one come out, that scope. So they'll start looking at the comments they got and they'll be working on developing that draft EA. South Fork Mountain, that project, as you probably know, is on the Shasta Trinity and the Six Rivers. It's being driven by the Six Rivers line officer and Ranger Lark. That document is supposed to be scoped in January, so you can watch for that as well. Junction City Fuels Reduction Project, we're working with the Watershed Center on getting that project moving. We've had a few initial meetings, including a community meeting. And the last update I have for you is WCF Phase 2. We ran into some bumps in the road related to some of the archaeological work. We're going to have our staff do that in-house to get that moving again and get that signed this spring as well. Implementation, Petty John Commercial Timber Sale area is almost completely done. There's one more unit that was optional. The purchaser has agreed to take that on. So we've got that additional unit to do. They're out there burning today, burning piles in the fuels areas. And that fuels work will be ongoing. The Gemmel Timber Sale, which is over off of 36, that project is finally complete, which is a big relief for all of us. It frees us up for some of our owl survey work. We can stop surveying there and go do some of these other places. So far, we've this fall to now, we've burned approximately 350 acres. And the other logging we've gotten done is we got the airport at Trinity Center. We got those hazard trees and endangered trees addressed. So we still have the campgrounds to do, but we did get the airport done. Collaboration, we continue to work with the Trinity County Collaborative. Right now, probably the biggest task at hand is we've long had a good idea and been on the same page for the fuel management zones along the main roads. And now as we're doing these larger projects, we're working together to come up with a common vision for what those forest health and fuels reduction acres will look like in the forest writ large. So what are we doing for habitat improvement? What are we doing for fuels reduction and forest health? So we're working with the collaborative on that. We also continue to work with our tribal partners to collaborate on projects and strategies for treatments. And just so thankful to be back here working with the Watershed Center and the Trinity County RCD. We have a really good partnership with both of them to get things done, as well as Trinity County. Happy to see that our Good Neighbor Agreement is being utilized effectively. And then, as you know, so roads, we had certainly a roads failure on the Pelletru Ridge Road. We yesterday got our soil scientist, an engineer, and one of our planners out there to go do an evaluation. We are pursuing and identifying opportunities to secure funding to get that road fixed. So we know that's important to the communities out there. We're well aware how important that road is. It was a pretty significant failure. It is closed at this point in time, but we have been out there, assessed it, and are pursuing funding to try to get it fixed. So that's what I have for you today. Other than I'm just thrilled to be back. It's nice to be home. Do you have any questions for me?
I do.
Rick does.
Correct.
So Tara, can you remind me when the transition or I guess the combination of recreation coming under your wing happens? Is that already happened or happened
Trinity
this
Lake.
spring?
So we've always had the day-to-day recreation kind of stuff, but the management of the entire Trinity National Recreation Area will be done by May 31st. We said we'd have it done by Memorial Day.
Okay. So this might be something more for Sarah, but if you could just perhaps have someone bring to the next update on the Minersville boat ramp, as well as the trail project that people were trying to get incorporated into some of your other work.
Mhm.
If you could just have somebody bring an update on those at the next time, that would be great.
Absolutely will.
Thank you.
Just wanted to welcome you back and to let Ben know we did a great job in your absence, keeping us updated as a county. Glad to have both you and him around.
Great. Thank you very much.
And as Rick said, we do need some updates because of the lack of staffing that's going to happen.
Yep.
And how it may affect Trinity County. It's not going to be positive, I'm sure. So we want to know what negative impacts that we may be looking forward to.
Yes, sir. And we're trying to adjust our permanent staffing and our seasonal staffing to try and, we know how important recreation, for instance, is to the economy here in Trinity County. So that's why I want to get everyone together and see what we can do to come up with a plan to keep things moving and meet the public demand.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So Southern Trinity, that's where I am, up at where all the, is there, we're interested in trail systems for hiking, if we can mark trails. The roads, some of our road easements go through Forest Service, so we're hoping to collaborate maybe with you, with the Forest Service, the DOT, to help with roads out there. I'm not sure what your participation is with that. And then timber sales in Southern Trinity. Are there anything that you're thinking about? Will they be considered up there, and when and how? And
So yes, timber sales are one of the tools that we use to address a healthy forest and improve and maintain a healthy ecosystem. So the South Fork Mountain project will have some commercial timber sales, will be an output of that project. And I'm happy to sit down with you, and perhaps Kristen Lark and I can both meet with you at the same time.
perfect, that'd be wonderful.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sarah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hope you have a wonderful day.
All right, we now will move into public comment. This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda or within the consent calendar. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please say your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. Good morning.
Good morning. I come on in public record for asking for public record. We are trying to find out information about tourist and marketing for Trinity County. And so we would like to request information for the areas in Trinity County and where the TOT money is being generated and other tourist amount of money that's being created. And we'd like to go you know, we're not necessarily asking for the name of the businesses, but we'd like to know what kind, like the Airbnbs they're bringing in versus motels and hotels and all that kind of stuff. And so I have a public record request here that I'd like to present to you.
It's a TOT kind of morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair and board, Dana Hauser from Hayfork. I, welcome, Julia. I wanted to thank the board and the previous members of the board for the extra funds and all of the TOT funds that were that went to Hayfork Chamber. And then, I'm sorry, I'm unnecessarily nervous. It's been a while. I wanted to formally ask for a presentation about by Brian Applegarth for the Cannabis Trail. I think it would be an incredible shame for Trinity County to miss out on that opportunity and be passed by as the green rush has passed and now the actual cannabis industry is like a fledgling little birdie trying to build its wings, and hopefully they'll be strong enough to hold us all. I would really love the opportunity for him to present, to share his vision. So then we can make a plan through with the Chamber of Commerce being in the center of that to lead the campaign. Thank you.
Chair, can I didn't get the name.
Yeah, the name.
Brian Applegarth?
I didn't get it either. What was his name?
Brian Applegarth. I can send you information.
Please do.
Thank you.
Any other public comment in the room?
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors, Lisa Wright from Lewiston. I just want to say congratulations for the new chairmanship. You got to switch your nameplates.
Oh.
And Julia, to your installation as well as a new board member. We look forward to a successful 2025 year under all of your leadership and tutelage. And it's very positive to hear in the presentations, your concerns, as well as focus on economic development and looking for ways for continued prosperity. As you know, I'm an owner of Flora, which is a local consulting company kind of born out of the cannabis industry that has now really diversified more into some non-cannabis activities that you've been supportive of. So there'll be more information on that to come in collaboration with the county, and a lot going on with the water board funding, fish and wildlife funding, and we've been really blessed with the opportunity to be subcontractors, which has allowed us as a local business to grow to over 15 people again. So that's very exciting. So thank you for your continued support and look forward to more success in 2025. Thanks.
Any more public comment in the room?
Good morning, Chair and Board. I don't have much today. I just want to thank Supervisor Lutweiler for his service as chair, and welcome Julia Brownfield. We're really looking forward to having you on here, and congratulations to Chair Gogan for being able to take that seat. And I believe that's all for me today. I just really looking forward to the new year and to a little bit of a fresh start. I guess the thing that's on my mind is this is now a completely new board, completely new set of commissioners and everything from the beginning of the development of the cannabis ordinance. I hope that we can leave a lot of what has transpired in the past and really look towards the future from here on out. Thank you.
Any other public comment in the room? Don't see any. How about Zoom?
Ben?
Ben, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Go ahead.
Just want to thank everyone, the new Supervisor Brownfield, welcome, just like everyone else, and the seat movements. Just wanted to bring up a couple things, nothing I haven't brought up in the past. We're talking about possibly new taxes in a few years, going to certain things, possibly more public safety. Let's not forget our volunteer firefighters. Let's not just talk about if we're going to do a tax increase when it comes to public safety, that it not be solely focused on the sheriff's department. We have dozens of volunteers who put their life on the line every day and don't get paid, and we should be doing everything to support them monetarily. It's just really a shame. The sheriff's department, great organization. They're $11 million ahead of basically the fire service up here. So just wanted to bring that up. And then second point, when are we going to start doing something about redoing ordinances for blight? I've heard that the general plan may not be done until 26. We can't wait until 26 to start redoing ordinances when it comes to this, or other ordinances that may be out of date. We need to get in there now and start having staff redoing ordinances. I keep hearing, well, people are finding loopholes. Well, let's get in there and close the loopholes. Let's do what we need to do so that when we come into town or go out of town, we're not seeing blight everywhere. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. Let's fix the problems and move forward. Thank you.
Anybody else on Zoom?
John?
Good morning, Supervisors. John Brower from Junction City. I'd also like to welcome the new Supervisor Brownfield and Supervisor Gogan as chair. One thing that I'd like to mention is since the COVID era of shutting down public meetings, there's been very little reporting publicly from county department heads. And I think that's sorely missed by the public. Director Panos seems to have reported out quite a bit over the last year, but very few other reports from our important department heads. With the harm to the local economy over the last few years, the popping of the green rush bubble that supported the county services in many, many ways, but very quietly for a long time. I think it's important that the department heads have an opportunity to voice their successes, their challenges, their visions, and I know a lot of them are doing a lot more with a lot less resources, and so it's important to hear from them and understand what they're going through. So if that could be encouraged, I think would be a good thing for both the residents and the county employees that are working so hard. So I just want to wish everyone a happy 2025 and moving forward together. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else?
No one.
All right. With no one else, we'll move on to reports and announcements, reports from department heads. Any department heads in the room or on Zoom? We do not?
No.
Then we'll go on to move to report from CEO Tuthill.
Thanks, Chair. So I will address the department head reports. The department heads are in fact providing reports to the board and myself on a fairly regular basis. Not all of them are providing monthly reports, as it's just not effective to do that, as there's quite a bit of work that goes into establishing a monthly report. But most departments are providing that. Some departments are in fact putting them on their department webpage. DOT, as an example, has every one of theirs up there, and they're publicly available, and you can go look at them. They've got good information. They've got pictures. They've got all kinds of stuff. With the new web page that we just rolled out at the end of December, I have sat here and said this before, and I'll say it again, that department head reports will be available to the public on the individual department pages within the new web page. That is still being, finalized and worked, and we're working through some of the administrative part of that. But that will happen early in 2025, and those reports, will be available. I do appreciate the public comment and the recognition of all the good work that is done, because every time you see one of those department head reports, you do get a very much of an appreciation for all the hard work that is going on within those departments. And oftentimes it is not recognized, all the positive work that is going on. So we're taking steps to publicize that work a little bit better. Another step that we're going to take is a new newsletter that we're going to publish on a monthly basis. Our PIO is taking this task on, and it is, I would say, indirectly linked to the new webpage, some of the new webpage capabilities. But that will be launched, and we're targeting that, the first one for the end of this month. And that is going to highlight a department per month, if you will. Not their necessarily their department head report, but their department will be highlighted, and they will be able to articulate and present, what they want to as a department. So again, we're still working through some of the nuances of the specifics of that and the format and how it's going to unroll, but we will be initiating that this year as well, in an effort to try to get out those positive aspects that all the departments are in fact doing, because there is a tremendous amount of good positive work that's going on within each department. And I am very grateful for all that hard work. On the new webpage topic, as a reminder, I said this at the end of last year, I'll say it again now, that anyone who was previously signed up for any notifications on the old webpage, those are no longer active or valid, and you need to sign up for any new notifications that you're interested in on the new webpage. So if you haven't done that yet, and you are one of those individuals who are interested in getting agenda reminders for this meeting, for planning commission meetings, for anytime we publish a news release, for anytime new information is added to the website, you can go ahead and sign up for that. But you have to do that individually. There's nothing I can do to help you with that. You have to individually go in there, put in your email address, your information, and agree to the terms and conditions of the new Civic website. And then the last thing I've got for right now is next meeting on January 21st. We will have the mid-year budget review, and it's going to be similar to last year's format, where we'll be, discussing those areas, those departments, or those areas within a department that are not tracking towards their projected revenue and expenditures. So it's kind of a briefing by exception, if you will. And we'll talk about those areas that are of concern to either us, the department head, or Susie if she's got big concerns as the senior financial analyst. So we will have that discussion at the next meeting on January 21st. And that is all I have for now.
Thank you.
May I just ask Trent a question? So I think the second caller was interested in interaction. In other words, them coming in person so that people can call in, people can ask, make comments. And I think that was what he was referring to as far as more reporting and things. And I think it would really help to educate the public.
Yeah, we have tried that before. We've done that a lot. I'll be blatantly and brutally honest with you, as I always will. That is an extremely inefficient use of time. And when we sit here and you look at the salaries that we pay and the amount of time that they are sitting here, it is an extremely inefficient use of time. And we've gone through that before, and it seems to be cyclical. And we need to learn from our past experiences and move on and try better methodologies. And that's what we're doing now. That's what we've been doing the last 12 to 18 months. And I think with this new, some of these additions we're looking at for calendar year 25, I think we will get more of that interaction. There'll be more information shared, and people will be more understanding about what, departments are doing and what their visions are.
If people go online, and maybe less of them, but once in a while, it would just be really nice to see their faces and to see what they.
I think your mic needs to be a lot closer for people online to be able to hear you.
Get closer from here. Tiny.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Well, and I was just going to say, your plans for their updates to be online, the newsletter. I think right now we have 53 people that are watching, which is a strong number, and we have 15 or so in the audience, but everybody can go to the website and see those, and the newsletter can go to anybody who signs up. So I think that is
the
great.
newsletters out there. We've also have the social media sites that are new as of just in real effect, a couple months ago, and that's another platform that we're using to share information. Lots of behavioral health information's on there, lots of HHS type information's on there. So there are different platforms that are being used, and we're trying to, move away from some of the older traditional platforms and move on to the newer platforms as far as sharing information.
Yeah, there's wonderful education. Yeah, thank you.
And just to add on to what Trent was saying there, today, for example, it's 10:30. When we have presentations and maybe, a lot of questions to the presenters, to have our department heads sit out there for 2, maybe 3 hours, to wait to say their small piece, is extremely inefficient dollars used for the county. We do get pretty good comprehensive updates as a board. If anybody wants to know anything from the board, please ask, and we'll get to the answer. But I think since I've been on the board, we've tried to move forward with keeping the updates as good as possible, while we tried to save money by not having them just sit around for 2-3 hours to give an update. So, we're doing our best on that. We're trying to save some money. As we all know, we need to save money, and that is one of the ways that we are doing it. So, reports from members of the Board of Supervisors. Well, first of all, Julia, welcome. And since you're new, you probably don't have any reports, but if you do, feel free.
Yep, no out of town travel, obviously. But I am actively working with my community, and we'll be setting up town halls and an office one day a week to meet with people in my district. And I am continually going to be available to them and the county. So thank you all for your nice welcome. And I look forward to working with all of you. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to have a great year. So.
Jill?
I have no out-of-county travel since the last meeting. I will, however, be leaving today to attend the RCRC board meeting, and then following that to Chico to attend the Economic Forecasting Conference. I have been working with the Roderick Hayfork Senior Center. They have been dealing with some challenges with their PSA2 funding, and it looks like we've reached some good understanding, at least some resolution, and looking for some better methods to moving forward. That's a great group of people over there working really hard to provide some wonderful services, and appreciate their willful communication to resolve misunderstandings and make sure that things stay really positive and on track in the future. So just want to give a shout out to them and what they do, and appreciate their service. Working with the folks at our Two Creeks Mobile Home Park that have come forward to express their safety concerns. Supervisor Lutweiler and I met with HHS staff and Sheriff's Office deputies, looking at the situation, considering what we may do in the future, and there'll be more to come on that in the report.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, thank you. Yes, as no out-of-county travel during this most recent period, as Supervisor Cox said, did join members of staff at the Two Creeks senior community, if you will. And I just wanted to say it was very enlightening, and I wanted to acknowledge the knowledge and the approach and the manner in which our staff have been and continue to deal with the situations. You can tell they are very thoughtful about this. They have a lot to offer. They're trying to be very thoughtful about how we can best solve the problems. There was a lot of good sharing of ideas and ways that things could happen. And I know we'll get an update later from CAO Tuthill, but I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing and hearing about. And yet at the same time, I would say it is clearly a very complex problem with no easy solution. So but I am encouraged. From a jail health standpoint, I wanted to note that during meetings with the Sheriff's Department and Health and Human Services, I learned of a coordinated effort for them to access new source of funding for jail health. And this could potentially free up general funds for other high priority uses. So Sheriff Ward let me know this week that, Under Sheriff Ward let me know this week that all staff have been scheduled for training on the new system that will be used to track time for jail health. And that tracking is what's needed for us to be able to then access that new funding. But it's a significant amount of money that we could start to have come into the county to pay for that critical service that would then free up general funds for other purposes. I will be at the Economic Development Forecast Conference that Supervisor Cox mentioned in Chico later this week. Tourism development, we heard public comment about that earlier, and at a previous meeting, we said that we would be setting up a committee, a standing committee, not ad hoc committee, on tourism development. And so one of the things that we had to do was create a set of bylaws that the board could approve, and then we could get that ball rolling. And we'd hope to have that for this meeting, but we now have a draft that is being reviewed by everyone that needs to see it before it comes to the board. I'm hoping that will be on our next agenda. And again, this is so that we would have a committee, 2 people assigned by the board, and then 5 people appointed by 1 for each district. And those are the people that would then meet on a regular basis to deal with tourism development related activities. That would include the use of the $30,000 that we allocated for researching and supporting development of a tourism investment district. It would also be the organization in the future that would look at available tourism funding that comes through the county and how that might be allocated. So we're just trying to work through all the processes that have to happen. Once those bylaws are approved, then we could do noticing of the available positions, and then we could select those positions, and then we can finally get working. So it's a slow moving process, but we're trying to keep it moving. And on the department updates, I just wanted to, one last comment is to say, I actually appreciate reading those, and I'm glad we're looking at ways that we're going to continue to share. I did want to highlight one thing that in the human resources update, there was a note about members of the team supporting other departments that were overloaded at the time. And I love that because it was basically people saying, hey, you have bandwidth problems. We have a little bit of bandwidth right now. We'll come help you. And that is just not something probably people associate with things. It's like, oh, we all stay in our lane and we only do our things. And, it was very encouraging to see. So I appreciate that approach. That's it for me.
Okay, so back in the old days, that's the way all departments worked as one here in Trinity County. So yeah, I hope to see progress on that front also. I did want to officially welcome Julia Brownfield to District 5 Supervisor, taking over for Dan Frazier. Have no out-of-county travel. Happy birthday, Susie. I baked you some donuts over there. Feel free to dig in. On a more serious note, and on a transparency note, which I will hold this board to for the remainder of my year here, I'm sure a lot of people may have heard, read, seen, rumored about me getting pulled over in October for DUI in Reading. That did happen. At the scene there, I took a breathalyzer test and my blood alcohol content was 0.00. I also gave a blood sample that night. They came back 4, 5, 6 weeks later, and the toxicology report was no drugs or alcohol in my system. A few weeks back, I was to be arraigned if anything was going to happen to me as far as that night in the DUI, and I was not on the docket. So although the case has not fully been dropped, they can bring it back up within 1 year. I think that I'm not a cold case file. I don't think they're going to be looking for anything like that in the past. So I just wanted to clarify any of the rumors that I've been hearing, you've been hearing out there. I had a 0.00, took the breathalyzer twice, no alcohol in my system, no drugs in my system either. So I just want to make sure that everybody clarified that. I clarified that to everybody as a sign of transparency by myself. And that is it for me. We will move on to the consent calendar. This item includes routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon by the board by one roll call motion. If a member of the public has any questions or comments on the item on the consent calendar, they may provide them now. A member of the board or staff may request an item be pulled and considered separately. Anybody in the public would like to pull any of the items on the consent calendar? Any members of the board? Okay. Let's take a vote on that then. A motion, sorry. Yeah, I'll get it right by the end of the year.
I'll move to approve all items on the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second.
You ready?
Yeah.
Supervisor Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler.
Aye.
Supervisor Branfield.
Aye.
And Supervisor Gogan.
Aye. County matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request that an item be heard out of order. We have 3 on the agenda today. Anybody in the public would like to pull or hear one out of order? Okay, then we will start with number 1. County Administrative Office, adopt a resolution allowing for the refund of appeal fees. CEO Tuthill.
Thank you, Chair. So this resolution is the input or outcome of the last Board of Supervisor meeting where this topic was discussed. And it was requested we put forth a resolution to allow for the possibility of a refund of the $500 that it cost to put forth an appeal. The proposed resolution is attached to the staff report, and we can address any questions if there are any.
Anybody in the public have any questions?
Some
None on Zoom board?
public comment? Okay. No?
No, all good. Okay, I'll make a motion to pass item F1 as stated.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Brownfield,
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox.
Aye.
We will take a 5-minute break
Thank you.
and be back at just after 10:45. I am ready to go. Was it me, but just everybody left?
That was more than a 5-minute break.
Just as far as our request.
Okay.
Okay, we'll continue on. With F2, County Administrative Office, discuss and provide direction to staff regarding the homeless encampment. Topic as discussed at our last meeting on December 17th, 2024. CEO Tuthill.
Thank you, Chair. I will introduce this topic. I'm going to probably give a little more lengthy introduction than I would normally give. And then we'll address questions and do the normal stuff. But first, I just want to start off by saying a big thank you to the many county departments, community members, private organizations that have been involved with this topic in the past and are currently involved with it. You know, thanks to the Sheriff's Office, Probation, Building, Environmental Health, Solid Waste, Transportation. Like I said, those private organizations, I don't want to call any of them out because I haven't coordinated that with them. But there are a lot of private organizations and individuals who have been involved over the years in the cleanup effort, you know, of trash and debris and just items in these areas that are known homeless areas. There's multiple, you know, tons of trash that we just cleaned out of the Weaver Creek area in October, November timeframe, and I've got a lot of pictures of that kind of stuff. But you know, there are actions that have been taking place on this topic. There's two main points that I really want to kind of focus on, at least from my perspective. One, that I believe there needs to be empathy for the homeless situation that we have in the county, but we also don't want to be a sanctuary type of area where we make it more convenient or more easy or more welcoming for somebody in a homeless situation. You know, it took us many years to get to this point, and it's going to take some time to correct. And this is not a Trinity County problem. We have a much less of a homeless problem than many other counties do. We're actually, you know, very fortunate for the level of homelessness that we have here in Trinity County. So we have to take that into account and always keep that in context. It'll not only take some time to address this issue properly, but it's also going to take some resources, some priorities and some resources that, you know, we've been talking about in the past in these forums that we don't necessarily have extra of right now. So it's really going to come down to a prioritization issue and working, you know, with some organizations maybe outside of the county staff effort, and we'll kind of get into that in a little bit as far as what some items or some thoughts are initially. There are some recent changes that could help us in this arena as well. As I believe all the board members know, and probably many members of the public, but Proposition 36 passed. And, you know, there are some new legal and that law type of help that we will have in this arena. But again, with that comes some implementation guidance and resources that will be needed to make that effective and for us to be allowed to use some of those authorities that Prop 36 brings for us. So I'm kind of I will suggest a really a two-pronged approach, if you will. First, I'm suggesting that, you know, we establish an ad hoc to gain public input via 2 supervisors, and then a larger recommendation would be brought back to the full board for consideration when we're talking about resources and prioritization. Some potential focus areas that staff has already been working on are areas such as the law aspect of it. Like I mentioned, Prop 36 offers some additional tools for us, if you will. But there's also some local ordinances that we could look at and adjust. We currently have a no camping on county property ordinance throughout the county, and that can be part of the discussion. But there are some other ordinances that could probably be looked at potentially for either additions to, amendments to, but we could make that kind of one of the general broad categories. And then on county-owned land, we could look at some vegetation management type of efforts. We have good partnerships with RCD Watershed Center. There's also, we've worked with the CAL FIRE and the Trinity River Conservation Camp program before. We've used those crews and those services to great success in certain areas. There's a fee associated with that, about $125 a day for that crew to come in and do some work. There's some paperwork that needs to be signed and all that kind of stuff. So there's a minimal cost that's involved, but there's a fairly decent return on investment for that. So we could look at doing some of those type of things. There's some other work crews that are going to be that have may become available through some partnerships between Health and Human Services and General Services, as far as some work crew programs that we've been working on that are just kind of coming to fruition right now, that could be looked at towards this effort. But we'd have to evaluate that, because there's some liability safety wise when you start talking about some of this type of work as well. But that's kind of a broad category that we could look at is vegetation management on land. Now, I mentioned specifically county-owned land, which some of these locations are on, but some are also on private land. So there will need to be a partnership with some of the private landowners and some arrangements and some agreements to really properly address this challenging issue. And then I think another broad category is that community engagement and involvement. This effort definitely involves the county governance structure, county staff, if you will. But I don't believe that county staff can in and of itself solve this problem. We may be able to, Band-Aid fix it, and we may be able to, make some headway in it, but to really solve it long-term, we will need that strong community engagement and involvement to really make something happen. And I think that's a critical aspect. And I think that's why, we could benefit from having some supervisors involved in like an ad hoc type of format. And then, like I started off, the many departments have been involved with different aspects of this. But I do believe there can be a more coordinated and focused effort within those different staff elements that have been involved with this, and clearly define lanes, clearly define responsibilities, who's doing what, who's leading the effort from a county governance staff perspective. But we have already, like I said, we've already talked this topic with staff, and there is full support, full enthusiasm, full commitment to making progress with this. And I know both, Supervisor Cox and Supervisor Waller, you experienced that firsthand on January 2nd when you went out and visited some of these places with a very small number of the staff that has been involved. That was just a very small representation of the staff organizations, and you saw the knowledge, the information, the dedication, the willingness to address this issue. But we can't solve it ourselves within the current structure and staff. We need to do something different. We need some more help. We need some other involvement from my perspective. So that's, I put forth in the board report, for public, and I think for for the board just to start some discussion, I put forth what I would call a very draft skeleton outline of some topics where I think we could start to focus and get the initial discussion going. And in that ad hoc, we could flush out some of those details. We could get some good ideas from others. We could invite some of the community partners in and others in and get that collaboration and discussion going, and look at how do we address this issue from a whole of community perspective, versus a county staff, what are you going to do to fix it? I think it's different than that. With that, we also got to always keep in mind, though, the resources that are going to be needed to do this. And if we dedicate resources to this, then there's going to be something else we're not going to do. And I want the board and the public to understand that. And I also want to make it known that what we've heard about in this forum, but it is, I would call it Weaverville centric, but there are other locations out there, Hayfork being another one, where there are similar situations, similar locations. So from my lens, I will always look at it from a whole of county perspective and not focus on one particular area or one particular district. So we got to keep that in mind as well, that this is a whole of county perspective. And when we talk about, having an enforcement arm of this, whether that's law enforcement or some other type of code enforcement being involved with this, well, that's taking away or competing with, I should say, not taking away, but competing with, that desire and need for those same individuals to respond to other calls. Because it's not like we're sitting around waiting to do things. The same individuals that were without showing you these areas are the same individuals who are working our major crimes, who are working our major, criminal drug enforcement, that are working our human trafficking issues, that are alive and well, unfortunately, in Trinity County. So it's competing priorities that we need to all recognize and understand when we talk this topic. Not that we don't need to put resources towards this, but we just need to understand the competition that's there. So that's a general introduction, and I would request or ask, or at least put out there for consideration, that we kind of use the framework of the document that I put out there for some initial discussion. And then we can fill in as much as we want to. We can have that discussion in this forum, and then the board for consideration, can provide whatever direction is going to be provided to staff. And I'll stop there and we'll move on.
All right, I guess I will start mainly because I have a little bit of background in, first of all, we're all sympathetic. This board all understands the homeless situation across the county and the state. But this is there's a lot of pieces to this pie. And we'll start out with law enforcement. Someone with a badge and a gun comes and they kick me and Rick off the property. But then I leave all my stuff there. Rick leaves all his stuff there. Then, county steps in. Resources being used there. Then all my and Rick's stuff is next to a creek. Now we have environmental health, in there. So I would like to keep in mind what Trent said there, that, obviously you have a finite amount of money to do this, and keep in mind, anytime in this next year, maybe two, as we fund other things, we have to make sure that the public understands that we may be defunding other things or taking away, as CEO Tuttle said, some of the officers from some things that most people might consider more necessary in the county. So I have no problem if it's the will of the board to start an ad hoc Having the store there in Douglas City, I've kind of dealt with this a little bit and how it works and how you kind of work around it. But it's a touchy subject. I think there needs to be a lot more community involvement. I don't think the burden is completely on Sheriff's Department, county. There is, it's going to take the whole community to get this problem to begin to be solved. I don't know if it'll ever be solved completely, but it's time to go to work on it and do what we can. So, I'm ready to do what I can do, and I'd be more than happy to form a ad hoc if need be. Anybody else?
Well, I definitely support development of an ad hoc. I think might help if you provide a little more clarification about the way in which you see the ad hoc working. Like when we had the cannabis ad hoc, we were meeting weekly for quite a long time, and we had public hearing or public workshops, all kinds of things like that. I know you're just ideating at this point, but if you can give some frame of reference. But I will say that from my limited exposure to it with this last set of site visits, it's clearly complex. It clearly needs board support because we're going to have to work on ordinances, whether it's new or updates. And Supervisor Cox and I had an opportunity to look at some proposed things that had been collected from other counties and recommendations from our own staff. And then just talking to folks, you can tell they want to do the right things, but it is going to take a huge effort. And I support that we support staff with an ad hoc, and I would be happy to participate if that's a good fit. I acknowledge that other areas might need representation more than mine, but I'm happy to participate.
I appreciate that. And CEO, I'd like to just say thank you for the efforts that you have made and really acknowledge what staff have done. And I don't know how much of that was when I say directed by your direction, I'm sure all of it was, but I also see them responding with so much personal, they've got skin in the game, because this isn't just their job. This is their community, and these are the people that we want to help. I also want to say how much I appreciate you looking at both lenses that are here. When there are homeless camping in places, those are people that need to be somewhere, and they need to be safe, and they need to be healthy. And so what we do to best support them in what they can rise to, and when they have the proper assistance, and just being able to observe a little bit of that interaction from some of our staff when they are there to give options and answer questions and clear up misunderstandings, opportunities they didn't realize they had, or what have you. It's very impressive. And their compassion toward those folks is appreciated. And then also just really balancing that with the fact that we shouldn't have residents who feel unsafe in their homes. Safety is job one of governance. And so when we look at, well, what can't we, or what wouldn't we then be able to do if we direct some funding this way? We're going to have to keep that very much in mind, is that safety is our job. So with that, obviously, I see myself as a fit for this because much of it is taking place within District 2. So I am happy to serve on that, and appreciate that we are, as a board, putting effort in this direction.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a long-term fix. It's not going to happen overnight. It'll certainly go on for the reign of my chairmanship here. So we should start now. I'm going to put an ad hoc together. I'd be more than happy to be on it. I have a little bit of experience with dealing with that, homelessness around businesses, and the cooperation of business owners in helping that problem, that blight, go away. So if we would like to form, it's a little the board, if we'd like to form an ad hoc, I would like to be on it, and discussion between whoever else may want to be on it.
Chair, if I may, well, maybe it'll give you some time to the members to think about who might be on the ad hoc, to address Supervisor Leutwiler's question about, what do I envision an ad hoc doing, if you will. It's really, the reason I think supervisory involvement will be beneficial is to act as the conduit between county staff and the community, if you will, and to bridge that. We can do that. I mean, we do it all the time, HHS, BHS, I mean, our office. I mean, we do that all the time. But I also think that's, one of the arenas where the supervisors are good at. That's what you're elected to do. You're representing your constituency. And then it also gives us that, a little bit of a view into the board when we're talking about ordinances and, the governance structure piece of things that we may be changing or proposing to change, to where we're not going down a road that is just automatically going to get derailed and not even have any chance for consideration at the board. So I think, there's a good reason for that. We've got the draft document, the skeleton outline that I provided you. I've got another document, that has a lot of that stuff filled in already. Staff's looked at it. We've filled in the blanks, if you will. But I also don't want that to be the only thing that's looked at, and that doesn't allow good brainstorming to go on and doesn't allow other ideas and other outside the box thinking to happen. Just because, a document is put in front of somebody, then that oftentimes becomes the method that we're going to go, and we kind of minimize some of that other input. So I think there would be an avenue for others to come and form and provide input and fill in the blanks, if you will, on that outline. I also think it would be, beneficial to think about and consider, that the public participation in this, how we would do that. We could make them open to the public in this room and make them a public meeting and all that kind of stuff. And what does that mean? Because I do, firmly believe that we as staff, can't solve this issue long term. We've got to have firm commitment from businesses, from individuals, from organizations within the community to make this successful long term. And that's why I think that supervisory input, being an ad hoc format, would be good. Now, I don't know how long it would last. I mean, we could transition this into some other type of forum, whether you want to call that a task force. If you look at AB 201, that kind of allows for some, establishment of a task force and that kind of stuff. Some people like the word task force. Where I grew up, in the last 30 years that I spent, if you say task force, you're out in the middle of some obscure location, and you got bullets flying around you. But that hopefully wouldn't be the case for this task force. So the terminology isn't as important to me, but I know words matter as well. So the ad hoc might form into something else, and we would have some type of, task force for this effort within the county staff. And, it would be a periodic engagement with the community and those members that are involved with it. And it would maybe form some type of council or some other type of organization. I don't know what it could evolve into. And again, we haven't flushed all that out. And I think the larger group would be better to do that. And then we would just see where it landed and see what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece, though, for consideration is, I don't want the government side of things to slow down any improvements that we could make, maybe, shorter term. I can reach out to the Tree River Conservation Camp folks today, and get some of those type of things going, because I think some of those actions are good anyways. We've got some fairly active groups that are more than willing to partner and focus on an area. Today, if we made some phone calls, I mean, we would get people together and there would be a very concerted effort on a location today. Part of my concern, though, is if we focus on that location today, well, then tomorrow it's just going to move down the road. And then we're going to, and then next week we'll go and focus on that one and it's going to move back. And that's not the long-term solution that I want. So, we could do some more concerted efforts to address some of the immediate concerns, if you will, but also keeping in mind the longer-term effort and what we're really going after for a fix, not just a moving people around and making it look like we're making progress where we really aren't.
One of the things that does occur to me is when you're talking about effective public outreach and making sure that we keep people informed and get them involved. Yes, we have a PIO and we've got a great website and all of those things are really healthy and good. But Supervisor Lutweiler certainly has the ability to engage people through what he's got set up with his website and all of the folks that read his updates and so forth. And so even though I am the District 2 supervisor, if others are a better fit for actually getting the work done, I recognize that. So toss that out.
So CEO Tuthill, would you like to take the time between this meeting and the next to kind of set some parameters on this ad hoc committee? And one of the questions that you answered that I had was, this is going to take a while. It needs to morph into something beyond an ad hoc. There has to be an end result of this that dissolves the ad hoc and becomes whatever it may be. Do we need to have discussions about in this ad hoc where our kind of borders and what the end goal may look like?
I mean, I can certainly do that within a small group and within staff. But I think it would probably be beneficial to have some of that discussion with 2 supervisors engaged in it so we could get different perspective and get ideas and, that it is what's next after an ad hoc. I think an ad hoc, we could define some general time frames involved with that. In the document that I've put together, there's like 3-month increments. The first 3 months is kind of what we do, 6 to 9 months this, 9 to 12 this, and kind of some goals and objectives and that kind of stuff. But I think we could use the initial few ad hocs to flush all that out, and then that ad hoc would probably make a recommendation to the full board to say, hey, this is based upon some updates and some progress, this is what we've done, this is what we recommend for the longer term effort of it. The ad hoc might be for a few months and then it turns into something else for that longer term effort, or the ad hoc may be for multiple months and then turn into something else. But I mean, I don't think adding another 2 weeks to trying to further define what an ad hoc is going to do is going to really get us anywhere. I would advocate for forming it now and then letting that ad hoc get together over the next few weeks, and then maybe in that 2-week period on the 21st, actually provide the first update as far as, hey, we've met, once, twice, and this is kind of where we're thinking. This is what we've done so far, and this is where we're going.
Understood. Then I would like to form that ad hoc, and I would like to be on that ad hoc committee. Anybody else on the board have a want for that?
Well, I appreciate Supervisor Cox's comments. I would just say I'm perfectly happy to support it in any way that I can, and understand that our Brown Act limitations mean it can only be 2 of us. My suggestion would be, Supervisor Cox, if you're still interested, that you would be that person, and then I can, to the extent that I have communication channels that are effective, I can do that through the updates that you guys provide here in the boardroom, and keep pushing it out and trying to get people engaged that way, but engaged back to you instead of back to me, since I'll have to kind of stay out of it a little bit. But I'm happy to support it any way I can, and certainly what we're experiencing, I wasn't aware of the hay fork exposure to it, but clearly there's a big issue here, and not so much that I know of, at least within my district. So I'm happy to support any way you want.
Yeah, and I do think that it's probably more prevalent in some districts than others. Surprisingly enough, Hayfork doesn't have as much as Weaverville. I think that's because Hayfork citizens and merchants kind of, will say, police themselves a little better than ours do here. So Jill, if you would like to be on that ad hoc.
Happy to serve in any way needed. Yep.
Okay, then it'll be myself and Jill. And I think Rick made a good point there, how we can get this out through the board in general without breaking any Brown Act violations. So let's start that. Do we want to set up times to meet?
We could probably do that offline.
Good enough. Right.
I have one question, just, so is there any short-term, very short-term, immediate plans? Is there anything that we can do for public safety, compassion, finding people, the ones that want help? And is there anything, is there any short-term law, I mean, I know the Supreme Court's ruling, but that the sheriffs have, or that people, without being,
So short term, like, immediate short term, no, there's nothing that the board needs to do or can do really to provide more resources or more governance structure, laws, ordinances, codes that are needed.
but can they be enforced? We do have ordinances, and I understand the complexity of this issue. But what I hear is a public safety issue on some of the residents. So I'm just interested. I know this ad hoc is it is the way to go.
Well, it's
Because
as far as
long-term
a
problems.
public safety, if
Right.
there's any members of the public that feel that they are not safe and there is a criminal law that's being broken,
Right.
they need to call the sheriff's office. I mean, they need to report that. I mean, that the sheriff's office needs to know that. If there's a complaint made, if there's a call made to dispatch and there is, available patrols to go out there, they will go out there. I mean, there was one of them out there with the two supervisors, and I'm sure that individual told them how frequently patrol have been out there. And we will continue to go out there, and we will continue to provide that safety that is required. There are certain things that this ad hoc can look at as far as adjusting some ordinances, but because somebody who's down there that happens to have a dog, that dog may happen to be aggressive, but it hasn't bitten anybody. It hasn't done anything that, breaks any laws or ordinances. Well, then because it's aggressive to somebody, that's nothing we can do about. But if there's a will to change some of those things and make them more restrictive, we can do that. I mean, right now you get, a citation, you get cited for, camping overnight somewhere or having a fire that's not appropriate. If you do that 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, prior to Prop 36, I mean, there was really nothing you could do about that. Well, now that's different. So, what our district attorney is going to do based upon, what the sheriff's office might do, I mean, that's all unknown right now, as far as that overall safety perspective. But, members of the public and the board, I mean, need to understand that today, right now, we're doing everything we can to provide as safe environment as we can. And we will continue to do that every everybody on staff is absolutely committed to that. You know, if an individual feels not safe, please call in. And as we have staff to go out and do that, they will respond as they would respond to any other call that they're going to get within the county. It does become, you know, a resource ordinance or a resource drill though, because right now all those patrols who are responding are literally responding out of the jail.
Right.
So if we've got jail fully staffed, if we don't have anybody in intake, that patrol that's sitting in intake will then respond from there and go out. Now we have iron actions in, we're making some progress. I had, you know, a great meeting yesterday with the sheriff and undersheriff, and you know, we're making progress in all these areas. But as we speak today, you know, I mean, we're still in an arena where we have some progress to do and some progress to make. But again, it becomes a prioritization and a resource issue.
And I think that it's intergovernmental, really. I think that there's so many different departments that are going to be involved in this when we come time to do this ad hoc. I think the ad hoc is a wonderful idea. It's the only way we're going to be able to put our minds together and make.
Yeah, and
make
I want to also, you know, make everybody aware, you know, that there has, like I started off, there's been a significant effort towards this already. And it's not like any department has not been working towards this, or we haven't been working as a multiple department organization already. But, you know, can you make process improvements? Can you do better? You know, absolutely. Have things, you know, continually change in this environment. You just look at it as how it's changed and evolved at the state level. You know, how the Supreme Court case had to come in and make adjustments, you know, how state level propositions change things. So it's very much a dynamic environment that is ever changing. And I think if we have this consistent but really concise focus on the topic, you know, we will make some headway in it. But we always got to consider the resource draw to it, because I also want the sheriff's office to be able to respond to a dispatch call in Southern Trinity. Even though it might take them an hour and a half to get there, I want them to be able to respond to that. You know, I would love to be able to have a dispatch officer again, you know, or have a patrol officer, you know, much more presence over in Hayfork again. You know, we all want those type of things, but we've got to appropriately prioritize this stuff. So yeah, but public safety is job one and number one of all of our duties, and that is taken seriously. And today, I believe we're providing that to the utmost of our ability. And if anyone feels unsafe, you know, they need to call sheriff's office dispatch. They don't need to put a text into Supervisor Cox that I feel unsafe. You know, that's informative, but that's not what the right process is. You know, they need to follow the established processes.
Yeah, when we were on site, Sergeant Trujillo, you know, we asked, you know, what can the community do? What can we do? And one of the things he says, you need to call us. That even if we don't have the staffing at that moment to respond, we have it on record. When somebody is available, they will respond, and we have it on record, and that's critically important. And then I think both he and Cody had already been doing a lot of research and work on ordinance stuff. So I do hope the task force can relatively quickly get to that and bring back to the board some proposals that represent all of staff input, because it was clear, they all said, oh yeah, if you could make some ordinance changes, that would really help us. And so they've got to have some good, strong ideas about what we could put in those ordinances that would be helpful. And it's great that a task force can be brought together, get all eyes on that, get something back to us that we can approve. And then at least they can be acting with more teeth or more leverage or something. And then I love that you're also acknowledging there are some things that you could do pretty quickly. Call in a group that could, you know, have 12 people out on a property, clearing it with 12 people for $200 is a pretty nice option. But then, like you said, you're also playing whack-a-mole then, unless you're doing the bigger picture. So anyway, applaud what you're trying to lead us through, and look forward to seeing what the ad hoc comes back with.
To just further underscore a little bit more of what Sergeant Trujillo shared with us and Supervisor Brownfield, this might help to alleviate some of the like tension that I sense, which is completely understandable and warranted. You don't just call one time. If you have multiple occurrences of an event over multiple days, you call each time. And so it might be to the public that they would feel like if they had the same thing happen on day 3 or 8, well, I already called back on day 1. You need to call again and again and again, because the sheriff's office has no idea what's actually going on the ground. And so when they have multiple calls, they realize, no, this is still something very much in process, or there's a new component to it, or what have you. So that would be the thing, I think, to communicate to constituents who are concerned.
And I do think the passage of Prop 36 will give this, the sheriff's department, the ad hoc, a little bit more teeth. You know, prior to Prop 36, it was pretty much a get out of jail free kind of thing. And, you know, hopefully, as Supervisor Cox just said, if you keep reporting people or people keep getting cited, this year, right now, you get cited, you can go back out. You get cited, you go back out. Well, Prop 36 is kind of trying to eliminate that continual get out of jail free card. So, you know, reporting things, you know, is very important to build we'll say a case against me for doing something that has to do with public safety. So I would stress to the public out here to report things that they think are of public safety, but try to not overburden our sheriff's department with not I want to say frivolous, but things that may not be warranted at that point, that we don't need to, we have a finite amount of resources here. We need to use them properly. And I think that with this ad hoc, we will be able to. Prop 36 will help a lot. And it's going to be a long-term effort, but we'll get it done. We'll work on it.
I love it because I think the people, we don't lose sight of the fact that these people, there's a lot of help that can be given, and a lot of them we can take out of this situation. And I think the ad hoc will really help us do that too. This is not just public safety, but it is people who have been put in this position one way or the other. And I love the idea of just helping them too. So.
Yeah, Supervisor Brownfield, when you have your orientation with HHS, they'll give you a good overview of all the wonderful services that they do provide already. And, you know, it's sad and heartwarming at the same time sometimes to hear some of these stories, but literally, I mean, our HHS director, who has a huge span of responsibility, I mean, she knows some of these individuals personally by first name. I mean, that's the level of commitment and care that you have for this in the county. But also keep in mind that all services that individuals we may think they, quote, need, it's all voluntary. So what we think they may need may be different than what they're willing to accept.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, oftentimes there's a difference of what we think somebody may need and what they think they need and they're willing to accept. And keep in mind that all this, it's all in a voluntary format. And that's another challenge to this topic, but one that is just the realities that we work in.
Great, thank you.
All right, do we need to take a motion to form an ad hoc?
No, you have that authority.
That's
Okay.
you.
It's done deal.
Let's do it. Me and Supervisor Cox are the ad hoc for.
We do need a name for the record. So what's the name of the ad
All right,
hoc?
let's look here and we'll call it the ad hoc to deal with the homeless problem in Trinity County. How's that? Good enough? I'm no lawyer. I think encampment kind of limits it down to a finite?
Well, it is an ad hoc, so it does have to have some limitations or it becomes a standing committee,
Okay.
subject to the Brown Act. So it needs to be fairly specific.
Go ahead and throw me out a name.
Pressure.
Something you were mulling over?
I'm just thinking, not homeless encampment.
Good enough.
That'll incorporate
Works for me.
plenty for us.
Sorry, Susie, I already got you. This is your birthday. All right, we got a name for it. We are good. Okay, we're gonna go into closed session. I do not have.
No, we've got one more.
Item.
We've got one more.
F3.
Oh, do we? Human Resources approve the job description, set the salary range, add to the alphabetical listing of classifications, and allocate to the Sheriff's Office Jail Division 2 Custody Support Technicians at range G 151. Approximate cost and salary and benefits per month at A step for custody support technician is $4,568.
But Chair, I'm gonna take this topic. Our Human Resources Director is online, as I'm assuming somebody is from the Sheriff's Office if there's detailed questions, but I'm pretty familiar with this topic. So we're asking for a new classification and new allocation of a custody support technician. So this individual will be different than a correctional officer. As I believe everybody's been into the jail, when you walk in, you're basically looking at the control room there. This individual would be the one that is in the control room, taking care of, the automated methodologies that we operate facilities today. They do not need to be a safety officer, nor do they need to be correctional officer qualified. We have run into recruiting challenges in the past where we have individuals who would be a good fit for a type of job like this, but they do not qualify for one reason or another, for a full dispatch or correctional officer type of job classification. So what we're wanting to do is to give us more flexibility in recruitment to hire somebody who may fit the job qualifications for this correctional support technician position and be that individual who's sitting in the control room. The salary is lower than a correctional officer position and dispatch, as it should be, because the responsibilities are different and less. This could also be an entry level type of position where somebody comes in, they get involved in the law enforcement arena a little bit, they get some other qualifications, they get a little bit more experience, and then they may be qualified for a correctional officer or a dispatch type position. So it could be more of a stair type of opportunity, promotional type opportunity for individuals if they get into the field and they like it, they're enthusiastic about it, and they're a good fit for the job. So although it does technically add to allocations, to the sheriff's office, we're not looking for funding for these right now because we're able to use the funding that's already been allocated to the sheriff's office based upon vacant positions and other positions that are not filled right now. If we find the right fit for this, we will use that to fill one of those, and then at a future point in time, if all the moons line up right and all the stars line up right, and we're able to fill all of our correctional officer positions and all of our deputy positions, and we need to come back and fill one more of these technical custody support technician positions, we will do that. But we're not there right now. But if the need for that funding comes back, we'll come back to the board for this. This is a request to ask for the allocation and the job description aspect of it.
And just so I'm clear, that this basically is, we have people that are doing this work that are more highly trained and compensated that they need to be to do this work. And this allows us to get people that just for that work that frees up the others to do the other work that they don't have the bandwidth for, eventually leading to deputies being out on patrol.
True statement.
Okay, I want to make sure I got it right. Thank you.
Do we open this up to public comment in the room? On Zoom?
No raised hands.
Would anybody like to make a motion at this point?
I'll move to approve item F3.
I will second.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox? Aye. Supervisor Litwiler?
Aye.
And Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Now closed session.
Okay, now closed session. I don't
And-
have any report out.
Yeah, I looked back and I didn't see any, we were already reported out on the last closed session as I have it.
We're good to go there? Okay. Government section or
Yep. You're right.
government section 54.954.5E, public employee evaluation, county administrative officer. And we will take
Comment?
any public comment in the room or on Zoom.
No.
All right, let's take a little break and we'll get at it.